Yo, what is up guys? In this video I'm going to give you guys 10 Fortnite tips I wish I knew sooner when trying to improve and get better at Fortnite in chapter 6. Whether you're a beginner, you have some experience, or you're a pro, the tips in this video are sure to help you take your game to the next level. If you do find this video helpful, please subscribe and help me reach my goal of 30,000 subscribers. So my first tip of today's video is going to be use something called peeker's advantage to your advantage. Now when you peek from behind a wall or other structure in the game sends your action, obviously the fact that you are now visible, to the server slightly after the opponent sees it. Now the server updates your opponent's position a fraction of the second after you see them, which then allows you to shoot first or get a clear shot before they actually even realise that you're there. Now to maximise peeker's advantage in a fight, you should peek out from cover just as you expect an enemy to be ready to engage, because if you do it too early, the enemy might already have their crosshair aimed at your head and get a nice little pre-fire, but if you do it at just the right time, you'll be able to see them before they see you and have a better opportunity of getting the first shot. This could then allow you to kill the opponent first in a fight or get significant damage onto them and reset the wall before they can hit you back with their shots. So my next tip is about third partying in the right way. Now this is all about not rushing into fights without actually assessing your surroundings. You want to make sure that you're watching other players from a distance and third party only when you have an advantage. Now this could be especially if you're able to use high ground to your advantage, such as a natural hill or something, which will really help you have an advantage. You want to make sure that you watch for other players also considering third party, and only third party at the right time when the fight is closing. Now when assessing when the right time third party is, you can look for 3 factors. Now this is that 1, both players are engaged into the fight, 2, both players or a single player has taken damage and the winner of the fight is now weaker, and 3, they're not expecting you to come in and third party, because if you can combine all these factors and time your third party right, you're more likely to go and clean up the fight. Now tip 3 is all about specialising in one playstyle, and when I discovered my playstyle, it helped me from placing top 20,000 to top 1,000 on multiple occasions when I was grinding Fortnite competitive. Now what I want to say is that you guys need to learn to play to your strengths. So if you're amazing at close range fights, for example, but struggle in more long distance fights, then you want to make sure that you stick to the areas where you know and you perform best. So this could be like a box fight scenario, so you would try and just have a box fight with your opponent, as that is your strong point. Likewise, if you're not so good at box fighting, try and avoid toking those. You need to make sure that you play to your strengths. Now many pro players do also have a distinctive playstyle, so you need to find out yours and stick to it the best you can if you want to be as successful as possible. Tip 4 is a little bit more of a niche and underrated tip, because I want to make sure that I'm not focusing on the generic tips that you hear in every video. So this is going to be about actually growing on social media. Now like I said, this is a rather underrated tip, but in order to go pro, I kind of think you need to make a name for yourself, whether this is just posting clips, streaming your gameplay, or engaging with the Fortnite community or other different creators' communities. I think being well known in the Fortnite community can open doors to sponsorships, opportunities, and even team invites to play with better players. Now the more well known you are means the easier opportunities you get to also get a better trio, and if you do have a better trio, that means you can place better and make more of a name for yourself as a result. Growing on social media can really help you out and become known in the community to then take your game to the next level. Okay, so now we've reached the halfway point, which is going to be tip number 5, and that's about aim being the most important mechanic. Now pro players use aim trainers, and these can be either outside or inside of Fortnite, for example aim training maps inside of Fortnite, or third party programs like Aim Labs or Kovacs outside of Fortnite to help increase your flick shots and tracking ability, as well as your overall aim as a whole. Now one of the most key factors when trying to improve your aim is having good crosshair placement. You want to make sure that you always keep your crosshair at head level, and this is to maximise your chance of hitting critical, high damage shots in the head of your opponent. You want to make sure that you're trying to anticipate enemy movement and also position your crosshair in common areas where the enemy is likely to become. Now in terms of a map to improve your crosshair placement, there is one by Quinn like the one I'm showing on screen, and this will also be featuring in a YouTube short on this channel very soon, so make sure you're subscribed ready to see that. Tip 6 I think is arguably the most important thing when trying to improve your fighting, and that's one word, and it's literally just confidence. Confidence is incredibly important because it directly impacts your decision making, your mental state, and obviously your overall performance within fights. When you're confident, your mechanics flow more smoothly, you won't hesitate or second guess yourself while building or editing, and you'll also just be able to dominate and control the fight much easier. And now this is essential in fast paced fights where you can then end the fight quickly before third parties turn up, because let's face it, we all know bad third parties are this season, Jesus. But obviously, the quicker you can end a fight, the better, and being confident and trying to control the fight with your enemy just allows you to have that psychological advantage over them, and therefore you can win the fight much easier. Tip number 7 is all about competing on a more consistent basis, because playing consistently is really important when trying to improve. Now, you can play in scrims, and scrims are high-level practice competitive matches for those of you that don't know, and they're the great way to simulate high-level play, and this is because they allow you to experience the stress and strategy of a competitive environment and of an actual tournament without the stakes of an actual tournament. These are pretty much the closest thing you can get to a tournament without, of course, it being a tournament. Now, these are on daily, and there's lots of different scrim servers that I've spoken about in previous videos. If you want to know what they are, there's lots of videos on YouTube about them, but most notably it's Nobles on EU and Manual or Elite Scrims on NA. Now, in terms of what else you can do in order to compete consistently, you want to make sure that you play in tournaments on a regular basis, because every tournament you play in is different competitive games, and this allows you to gain experience. Even if you don't win or play that well, you'll learn from your mistakes and be exposed to the strategies that better players than you that are placing higher on the leaderboard end up using to do well, of course. Now, if you can't find a trio to play with, I do have a Discord link in the description down below, which you can join and head to the looking to team section to try and find different players which you can play with, and also you become part of my community, which I really do appreciate. Tip 8 is that map knowledge is way more important than you actually might think, and this is because it can lead to having top tier positioning. Now, when you're playing like a competitive game like a scrim or a tournament, your position often is the deciding factor either in a fight or how deep you get into a game. If you can use natural high ground, built-ins and even terrain to try and give yourself that advantage over the opponent, this is really good, and it means you're likely to get deeper into the game. You always want to try and control the best possible position in the lobby for rotations and endgame, because as you guys know, if you've played competitively, the team on height controls the lobby, as they can position front side early and hold everyone coming in the back side of zone. Another thing for this that I've just remembered whilst editing this video is that also knowing easy rotate routes outside of your POI is really important. So like if there's zip lines or launch pads near your drop slot, you want to make sure which ones you're going to use depending on where the storm circle pulls. Tip 9 is about learning to run and disengage from fights, because if you understand this and know when to do it, then you can get deeper into the game on a lot more of a regular basis. Now, there are different ways which you can play the fight, which I've covered in fighting tutorial videos on my channel before, but most notably, you can slow the fight down when you're struggling or in a bad position in a fight, and play boxes in order to either wait for an opportunity to disengage or wait for an opportunity for your opponent to disengage. So what do I mean by this? Well, if you've been hit hard, simply box up, and if your opponent continues pressuring, continue playing really slow, and they will either then choose to disengage, or you can wait patiently until you get a clear opportunity to disengage. Sometimes the better play is to simply stall and ignore the fight instead of actually taking it, as even if you win the fight, sometimes you end up really griefed and you end up being shambles, and then a third party comes in and cleans you guys up. So now moving on to my 10th and final tip, it's all about sticking with it. Now, I want to relate this to my YouTube channel, because around a year and a half ago I started doing Fortnite content, and at first things were very slow, but I kept uploading and stuck with it, and now I'm in a fortunate position where over 27,000 of you guys as of right now are subscribed to the channel. Now, if we continue this up and we continue on this grind, who knows where we can go. And it's the same with you guys and your Fortnite grind trying to improve. If you continue practicing and playing in tournaments on a regular basis, who knows just how good you could get. You could be the next Peterbot, you could be the next Clicks, you don't just know. It might not happen very fast, it might take a lot of time, but if you stick with it and don't give up, you never know how far you can go. Thank you guys very much for watching today's video. Please click this video on screen to learn how you can improve fast within Chapter 6 this season. Peace out from me.